Hi, Miss Johnson. This is Andrew Lapes. I'm here with my grandpa, Stuart Shubin, age of
76.
76. Okay. So, is the present better or worse than when you were my age, and why?
Well, politically, we are in serious turmoil with the two parties being divided, and our government has many difficulties in moving forward in with many areas of progress.
There are some ages we look forward to and some not. And what birthday were you least enthusiastic about, and why? Least.
I turned 70 years old.
Why is that?
It just presented a milestone that I started seeing people my age have a beginning of
Negative.
cumulative health problems.
Okay. And what is the hardest thing about growing older, and what is the best thing along with that?
Hardest thing about growing older at my age is seeing friends and family members' health beginning to deteriorate. And what was the other
The
part?
best thing about growing older.
And the best thing is seeing my children and grandchildren blossom into beautiful, successful adults and young adults.
I like that. What are you most looking forward to soon?
Most looking forward to is cutting back a little bit with my business activities and initiating more travel
Okay.
to places on a short bucket list.
I like that. How do you define a good life or a successful life?
A good, successful life is having a fulfilling career and, again, seeing my children and grandchildren achieve their desires and goals.
What makes you happy and why?
I'm happy because primarily health-wise, I feel like I'm holding my own relative to adults my age, and that drives me to succeed more with my goals.
Okay. And what are you most thankful for and why?
I'm most thankful, honestly, for being here today because at age 52, I had a serious heart problem where I had to be resuscitated. And right after that, very happy to be able to attend my daughter and son-in-law's wedding.
Okay. Hello, Miss Johnson. This is the childhood questions part. So, Poppy, where did you go to high school, and what kind of school is it? Like public or private?
I attended Germantown High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was a public high school.
Okay. And where did you live when you were in high school? If you know the address in Philly.
2123
Powers Place.
Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. What was your favorite subject and what was your least favorite subject? And why, if you have a reason?
My favorite subject was English.
Okay. If you have a reason, if you don't just like it.
The reason why I enjoyed English was because I enjoyed writing journalistic articles for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Okay. And what was your least favorite subject?
My least favorite subject was physical education.
Really? Not an athletic guy? Okay.
Not very athletic.
Okay. Who was your most memorable teacher and what made them so memorable?
Didn't have one.
Really? Was it just a school or like no teacher stuck with you? No teacher like just stuck with you? Not a memorable high school in terms of teachers?
No
I guess?
teacher really inspired me that much.
Really? Okay. When you were 17, what did your friends do for fun? And if it had a cost, what was it?
Enjoyed going to baseball games.
Okay. And like a Phillies game?
Phillies games.
There we go. And how much did that cost for like a ticket you would buy?
I'm not sure because my best friend's dad had season tickets.
Okay. Very nice. How did your family spend time together when you were younger?
My family was very dysfunctional,
Okay.
and we mostly did not go out in public a whole lot.
Okay. What was the most important lesson you were taught when you were younger?
Most important lesson was to get good grades in high school.
Okay. What was the best gift you ever received and why? I think this is more like a childhood question.
Childhood.
Yeah.
Best gift I ever got was from my grandmother. It was a baseball glove.
Okay. Is there a reason or just had in the glove?
Enjoyed playing catch with my friends.
Okay. And did you get an allowance as a kid? And if so?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay, that's the childhood. Hello, Miss Johnson. This is the adulthood questions. Alright. So did you go to university or college? And how did you decide what you wanted to study?
I attended the University of South Carolina, and I had a liberal arts education,
Okay.
and I majored in psychology.
Okay. What was your first adult job and what did you get paid?
My first adult job was a management trainee, and I earned in 1970 $28,000.
Okay. What was your first car and if you remember how much it costed?
First car I ever had was a Buick Skylark that was used, and it cost $2,300.
Okay. And then how much was gas at the time?
Gas was $1.50 a gallon.
Wow. Tell me about your first house as an adult. How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Where was it? And do you remember the cost to buy or rent?
The first house was 2,500 square feet, and it cost $32,000
Okay. And where was that?
in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay. And how many bedrooms and bathrooms were there?
It was 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms.
Okay. Do you have children, and how many and how old are they now? And what makes you proud of your children?
I have presently 1 child. Unfortunately, I had a son who is deceased at a very young age, at age 34 and a half. And I am very proud of my daughter for all that she's achieved in her career. And I was very proud of my son, who was very driven person, who was very entrepreneurial, and he worked very diligently at whatever he aspired to achieve.
Okay. And how old is your daughter now? Mom? 51.
51.
Okay. What is the most memorable family vacation you took?
The most memorable family vacation we took was to California for 17 days.
And is there a reason, or
Apple Watch only goes out 7 days.
And what?
is there like a reason? What do you guys do there?
The reason why it was so memorable, it was planned by a travel agent who was from California,
Okay.
who was very familiar with every place that we went throughout the whole entire trip, and it was just very well planned and very, very enjoyable for us all.
Okay. And the last question, which do you think you have the most of? Talent, education, intelligence, or persistence?
I would say persistence.
And how has that helped you throughout your life?
It helped me tremendously to achieve a variety of goals that I set throughout my career, and the persistence helped me reinvent various aspects of my business that has enabled it to be in existence for 32 years.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, Ms. Johnson. This is the post-inflation math after the interview I had with Stuart Shubin. His first job he had was a management trainee, where in 1970 he was earning $28,000 a year, and after 685% inflation, he was earning $219,888 a year, accounting for inflation in 2023. His first car he got in 1970 was a Buick Skylark, which costed him $2,300 in 1970, and after 685% inflation in 2023, his car would have been worth $18,062.23. I was unable to find a ticket price, as he mentioned he got free tickets to the Phillies games, but I figured out at a Phillies game, a hot dog was worth 50 cents in 1964, and after 882.9% inflation, it was now worth $5.91 in 2023. And
right now this year, the average ticket to a Phillies game was $129.59, and after you account for 89.8% deflation going back to 1964, you can find $13.18 for a Phillies game. His first address in Spartanburg, South Carolina, 105 Sunline Place, was worth $32,000, and now on Zillow it is listed at $279,000. Stuart mentioned he did not have an allowance, and when I asked my mom, she said my allowance would be $15 if I got, which accounting for deflation, in 1964, this total would be $1.53. At the University of South Carolina, he had to pay $900 per semester for tuition in 1966, and accounting for 840.4% inflation, this would now be $8,463 in 2023. In 1964, when he was my age, or 17, the number one song was I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, and the most grossing movie was Mary Poppins. He mentioned his favorite gift he received at this time was a baseball glove that he said he estimated $8 for in 1964, and after accounting for 882.9% inflation, we now see this glove would have been worth $78.63 in 2023. I asked him what has changed between now and then, and want to say the same. And he said the most change he's seen is the political turmoil and the higher cost of living. And he said what has mostly stayed the same are family values and what happens in and outside of the family. Thank you. I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand.
Over the winter break, I decided to interview my grandpa, Stuart Shubin, as out of all my grandparents, I felt that he was the man who had the biggest economic background out of all of them. As my other grandparents are involved in the healthcare industry, he is involved directly in the business industry, which I feel is more economic at heart, as he owns a textiles industry called Jazzy Textiles, which is still running to this day, as he is not retired. When interviewing my grandpa, I learned a lot about his younger life, as while I knew he grew up in a poor situation, it was very interesting to be able to see his house, or what's left of his house now, as a child, and to what it is now as the industry, that whatever it is, or the business. It is also very interesting to be able to see what his first job was, his first house, and his car, some stuff I never knew, and being able to see his old house, car, and being able to know what his job is, very valuable information to me. Mostly though, it was very nice to be able to see pictures of from when he was younger, with my mom and all of their side of the family. Some pictures I've never seen before, and it was very enjoyable to be able to dig them up for this project. In regard to the economic concept of inflation, I learned how a 50-year time span from where we are today, from where he was my age in the 1970s or late 1960s, how big this time gap has on our economy, as inflation is up 900% from some of these years. My grandpa, when he was younger, when he was 17 my age, he had a very similar childhood to me, as he'd always like to go to baseball games, play catch with his friends, and mainly always stressing after high school and college, which I am doing right now. And while on this journey, it was very interesting to see all of the prices from when he was younger. Like, for example, the baseball glove that he said he only spent $8 for. Using the inflation calculator, I figured out that it would be worth $80 today, accounting for this ridiculous inflation. While I definitely knew inflation was a huge problem on the economy, I was especially able to see the extreme extent to how much it has risen from when my grandpa was my age as a kid, or 17 years old. Out of the entire interview, though, the bit of information on inflation that I found by far the most surprising was the college tuition. While he only had to pay $900 per semester for in-state, it is now listed at $12,600 for in-state tuition for the University of South Carolina, the place where he went. Despite when I did it on the inflation calculator, it said it was only $8,400. Before conducting this interview, I had already understood the concept of inflation from a background perspective as an economics student, but now being able to see inflation from the perspective of the man who has experienced economics for 76 years, it opened a new lens for me. Being able to conduct this interview meant a lot to my grandpa as we were able to spend good time over the winter break together, and it especially meant a lot to me as I am able to have this video forever.
on top of the economic information I gained about inflation from conducting the interview. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for the opportunity to conduct this interview, and now I know a lot more about my grandpa and inflation. Thank you.